An estimated 24,000 people were killed last year because of 4G technologies. It's only going to get worse with the 5G. We've talked about numerous cluster cases over the past week or so. We're focusing on the rollout of 5G, of this microwave weapon that's going to be on everybody's doorstep. We talked about cancer clusters at San Diego State University. We talked about cancer clusters in Mount Greenwood, Chicago. We talked about cancer cases at an elementary school in Ripon. Turns out there's even more cancer cases and clusters than that. And the question here is, if they're going to vaccinate people for a few cases of the measles, why won't they do something more long-term for this outbreak, for this crisis of cancers, leukemias, brain cancers, all sorts of nastiness, ways you just don't want to go out, to say the least? Why won't they do more? According to BioInitiative, you should be at 1 milliwatt per meter squared. With these new meters that we're rolling out, and many people are getting them, you can see that you're in the danger zone as soon as you start hitting the urban environment. The studies are conclusive. The science is real. There's no debating the facts. The question is, are you aware of the dangers? It seems like when it comes to anything else, they want people being aware and super safe or shelter in place, ladies and gentlemen, but not when it comes to EMF, not when it comes to the telecoms, not when it comes to 4G, the rollout of 5G. Everybody should be concerned, especially if you're sending your kids out to a university or an elementary school. They've all got these routers, these huge industrial routers that are made to connect, hundreds of computers at a time. You can't even imagine the mayhem, the EMF chaos that is stirring in schools and the like. That's why we're seeing a lot of outbreaks near the schools. Be sure to check out the inventory of information in our video archives, not only on 5G EMFs, but the world at large. We've talked about the steady increase of EMF over the years. It keeps getting worse and worse. The readings are higher and higher. They make it seem like it's normal. They just raise the temperature. It's like the boiling frog syndrome. They raise the temperature little by little, and nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care. Oh yeah, 5G. Yeah, I can't wait. Again, according to some people out there, depending on the network, BioInitiative and various laboratories say that 1,000 microwatts is the limit. We've seen it all the way up to 1,000 microwatts, which is 1 milliwatt, is the limit. According to this laboratory, there's another laboratory that puts it at 241 microwatts being the limit, 0.241 milliwatts. Not sure where that slide went. But the FCC says that you can take 10 watts of power in your face, bitches. Now that might not seem like a whole lot. You're thinking to yourself, a light bulb is only 100 watts. I can do a light bulb. I can put a light bulb, like when it's stuck in the jack, I can put my tongue in there. Oh, you're thinking that's 120 volts, Johnson. You'd be surprised where you're seeing 120 volts circulate through the air. You're just eating it. You're totally unaware of the dangers. The television isn't going to tell you what's going on. You got to do the research for yourself. You got to figure out what they're actually doing out there for yourself. You see you should see. Did you see all those arrays? Okay, I've been doing some independent studying with my EMF 390. I love that little thing. It's outrageous, all the stuff that you can do with it. But when I got the data. Hold on. We were cruising around. We're doing some preliminary reports here. Report let's see, where did we put these stats? Okay. Now today, for example, we did a little cruise to the grocery store, and we just went through town just to see, you know, what we might experience. Now, let's see. This is the graph. So the EMF 390 actually data logs your experience out there in the real world. Now this is about a 15-minute journey, and you know, the graph is set up time in seconds on the bottom on the x-axis, going left to right, and then going up and down on the y-axis. If you can tilt your head, it says milliwatts per meter squared. Now I want to show you some graphs. I'm going to bore you with some shit, but remember, one milliwatt per meter squared is the limit of safety. That's the safety limit. That's the bioinitiative safety limit. You can do your own research for yourself and see how credible that is. But be sure to check out our previous broadcast, because we brought out some excellent scientific reports. Anyways, not to bore you, but you know, the journey starts all the way up until about the 500-second mark, almost 10 minutes, probably 9 minutes into the journey. I hit the city center, the downtown of this little town, and you start seeing spikes. At first it's like 15, 20 milliwatts. Then it boosts all the way up to 70 milliwatts. And then down to, you know, then eventually back down to normal. Couple spikes, couple anomalies, but you can definitely see that you're entering no man's land right there in the urban landscape. The more buildings, the more towers, just because of the physics. I just want to throw a couple other graphs. Yesterday I uploaded a video using 4G, like your telephone, right? Your standard phone right now, you upload a video, say 100 megs up to YouTube. You're like, yeah, perfect video. This is your typical exposure in milliwatts per meter squared. And the range here peaks at around 5 milliwatts. So to put this in perspective, you know, when you're using your phone for classic shit, you can peak up to 5 times, you know, the lethal level. That makes sense. And then you got the death tower itself. You go by a death tower, you're at 70 times the lethal limit. Now that's got to be just one array, because I went to a different town that's a little bit bigger, and it's got 2 arrays on the death tower, 2 sets of like rectennas, two rows of rectennas, and that thing plus like a 5G little crown. You know, it looked like a little Christmas tree. You know, it kind of looked like where's the graphic? I know we got one. It kind of looked like this a little bit. You know, you've got you know, a couple rows. This one's got more, 3, 4, you know, with a little dinky thing on the bottom. But just imagine just 2 rows equates to an exposure something like this in the 1400 milliwatt range, and you can get up to 10,000 milliwatts of power. 10 watts. It's not even a light bulb. It's not even close to a light bulb, but it's more than enough if it's running through your body long term to cause problems. Studies are conclusive. At 1.5 watts per kilogram SAR, which is the actual absorption rate, clearly you're in the danger zone. And in the controlled groups of those studies, zero brain cancers. But the ones that were exposed, ladies and gentlemen, they didn't turn out so good. Any case, you know, the world that we live in is much more dynamic. The EMF 390 picks up all sorts of traffic in the RF spectrum mode. Now, I know there's a lot of you that have ordered this already. You've probably received it by now. And I find the vertical modes to be very insightful, whether it be for EMF or RFR. Here we're looking at RFR, the radio waves. And in any case, the device tracks all of your exposure, magnetic, electric fields as well as radio frequency radiation, so you can go through it. We'll talk about how to build a graph from your readings soon. We're going to be starting a group, if you will. Here's a little higher exposure in the city. You can kind of see, you know, some it's a semi-commercial district. But we're going to be starting a page on our website primarily, and Fakebook as well, for people to exchange peak readings and, you know, to get snapshots like this, basically. I'd like to see people send in their snapshots of peak readings in different areas with you know, GPS coordinates, so that we can tag that onto a map, and we'll build a map, we'll build a database, because right now all the maps are gone. You try to find a Death Tower map and they're hiding them. They're hiding them from you, ladies and gentlemen. They're hiding the Death Towers from you. Now, the EMF 390 is about the size of a cell phone. It fits in, you know, just about any cradle out there. And, you know, it's a trip, man. Like, going to the store is a trip. Going, you know, cruising around is a trip more than ever before, to say the least. You get an idea of the exposure levels. And if you match this up with like a notebook or a GPS kind of setup, then you can actually build your own maps in your town and let your neighborhood know, let your friends know where the hot spots, because they're everywhere. And again, they're hiding these towers in all sorts of places now, that it's becoming more difficult to know. You can bet the house on the left is a rental. You would never know if this was built into your house, a super fucking huge Death Tower, unless you go inspect the property with an EMF meter. And in fact, you know, you'd be surprised, you know, what kind of hardware is setting off, you know, the alarms. Quite a few. We went to Best Buy with the EMF 390, checked out all sorts of computers and televisions and the like. You want to check. Seriously, you want to check before you buy anything else. You want to buy this EMF 390 before you buy another computer, before you buy another anything, really. Before you rent somewhere, before your friends rent somewhere. I mean, if you really care. I mean, this thing right now for the manufacturer is about $100. The competition for an EMF, if you get an acoustimeter, it's $300. Gigahertz solution, it's like $300-400 or way more, and it's just for a little spectrum. This EMF 390 does 0 to 10 gigahertz, so it covers just about everything. And it's really interesting in the RF browser mode. You can browse different commercial spectrums. Here you see that we're always bathed. I don't know if it's like this in your area, but where I'm at, I'm always bathed in like 636 or 660 megahertz. I think like this might be the frequency the dark matrix is actually, like, you know, broadcasting at. You know, all those people that hear voices and shit. You know, you're always picking this up. It's really interesting. And you start looking, because this thing is more than just like an EMF meter. It's like a sweeper too. You can find like hidden tracking devices, you know, like on your car, you know, if they've got it, you know, jacked up like that, or on in your home, you know, hidden cameras and all this stuff. And it's rather interesting to see, like, because they say the lower frequencies are the most dangerous. And this is going to be an upcoming report, and I want to verify this with other people that have ordered this. This is why this community is going to be so large, really. But what I'm picking up in the lower frequencies on the RF sweeper is like exposures at man, like from 7 to 30 milliwatts, even out in the country. And I'm wondering if we're not all getting dosed by satellite or something. You know, you might think that's really weird. But you'll notice, like, okay, so just to explain the vertical mode for those that have got this, the top is the strongest signal that it's picking up in the commercial bands, which I think is like up to 1200 megahertz, and then picks up again at between 2.4 and 2.5 gigahertz. and that's for most of the 4G, 5G. So the all-in-one and like this top thing here is showing the strongest in the commercial band, and then in the and then in the vertical mode, this is the vertical mode. In the middle, you're seeing like the whole bandwidth at this level. So here you're actually getting a burst at 19.8 milliwatts, and I got bigger bursts than that. Of course, I'm driving, I'm not walking or living in this neighborhood. I'm driving as fast as I can in this place. And that's what's kind of cool is like, you see the hot spots and you can run for cover. You don't need to linger in a hot spot. Go linger somewhere else. There's a 44 burst. Any case, we're going to set this up and do more studies and compare results. But it's a crafty little device, and I'm thinking that we're all getting hit and we don't even know it. And they've got it slow cooked just right so that people keel off a certain way. It's not just going to be like sudden death. They're saving that for last. They can tune these things up. But I have a feeling that that people are getting cooked at night and in other circumstances. The first day that I brought this thing out in my area, I was noticing much higher readings than I am now, and I have a feeling that they're picking up the fact that we're recording those readings, and I think that might make a difference in your area too. And unless people are actually like auditing the environment in their area, they have no idea. And knowing this system, they're gonna do you in. They're gonna do you in like nobody's business. Check out that Mount Greenwood broadcast, ladies and gentlemen. Truly epic, to say the least. The adventure with this EMF 390. We're gonna again be starting a group and trading ideas, trading results, because look, you shouldn't be, in danger zones. You shouldn't be in Fukushima. You shouldn't be in places that are dangerous. And of course, the FCC standards are much higher than the actual safety standards. What the safety standards should be when looking at laboratory studies. The FCC standards are so high because they're in bed with the industry. And unless people make this a topic of discussion at the dinner table in their areas, nothing's ever going to change. But if we can create literally an awareness of the dangers, I mean, look, don't take our word for it. You know what I mean? Like, do your own research, get a meter. It doesn't have to be the EMF 390. But this one, I was searching for one myself, and this one ended up being like the best find for the money, because again, it's got a broad spectrum, and it's about half the price of leading competitors. So it's all on a chipset. It's got various tubes for the various radiation that it picks up. Our link takes you directly to the manufacturer. They've got even more detailed videos about this, that, and the other. But we're going to explore this more because it's a fun little device. It's like hunting Pokemon. It's interesting to see what your EMF environment is out there. And I think the reward is tremendous, because you're gonna find some nasty spots in your home, in your area, that you want to avoid, like the alarm clock next to the bed, the light. You'd be surprised, not every light is the same. Not every light bulb, not every light stand, not every computer, not every television. And if you're giving this hot product to your kids or to your friends and family, and they're getting dosed, that's a risk that's totally avoidable. Well worth the $100. Your deductible will be much more than that, ladies and gentlemen. And it's just not worth it. It's not worth it. It's not worth going through that. It's not worth putting yourself through that. The studies are conclusive here. And I think the more people are aware, especially like our kind of people, the smart ones out there that are awake, The more that you're aware of what's going on out there, the more that you can protect yourself, the longer you can survive out there in the matrix, the better it is. Don't get whacked by the energy weapons that are out there. And of course, it's only going to get worse. And of course, they want to roll this out so that they can sync their Skynet to it, and all their Robocops and Terminators and drones, and the fleet of Amazon drones that are going to replace your local jobs and all of that stuff. It's going to turn everybody into zombies. It's a bad deal for everybody on every front, right? You just see people out there just clinging to their phone. It's their life now. It's the virtual world, and you got Zuckerberg as the dictator, and Screwtube up there as well. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. It's only going to get worse. And the more people push back against 5G in general, the better it is, not just for human health, but for the tyranny that's coming. These things are a real threat. If you believe the scientists out there, don't believe us. Don't believe the television, for fuck's sake. Pardon my language. Do your own research. And once you settle on the standard, which right now literally the standard is the recognized standard is 1 milliwatt per meter squared. That's the safe. That's as high as you really want to be, and still that's the danger zone. I mean, you're literally, you should be at like 0.0 something milliwatts. 100 times less than the limit of danger. And then beyond that, in the city, it's like you can get stuff up to 10,000 milliwatts easy. And look, we'll bring back the graphs here. Mid-sized death tower, 1,400 times lethal limits. And it's not instantaneous lethal. Instantaneous lethal is at about 100 watts, according to studies. So, like, literally, this stuff will kill you. It's about the dosage. That's why there's limits. So, the 100 watts, which is like the 100,000 milliwatts range, is like instantaneously lethal. It's like literally you're in Chernobyl. You're getting there. At certain frequencies, for sure, you're done like immediately. And even the FCC, for certain frequency ranges, it's like really low as far as what they allow. Any case, we'll be getting more into what is safe, what is not safe. But the scientists who have done the research, according to when animals start to keel off and shit, they're saying that 1,000 microwatts or 1 milliwatt is extreme. Severe is anything like 10 to 1,000. Most people are already just permanently living in a severe risk zone. Last thing you need to do is migrate to extreme and like super extreme, or super stupid. And you are pretty ignorant, I think, if you're not aware of what the actual readings are in your neighborhood, in your house, due to various devices, routers, wireless devices. Like we said, doing a 4G upload, a wireless upload, exposes you to about 5 milliwatt peaks. 5 times, the lethal limit. Think about that the next time, you are desperate to upload something or download something from the internet. This is typical exposure. Using your phone. Uploads on the left, and then in the middle is kind of like the downloads, watching a video or something like that. That's the exposure, being like 3 feet away from the fucking phone too. I used it as a hotspot connected to a USB cable, so I didn't park it in my hands, like right in front of my face. I'm sure readings there would have been double. A little bit more. We put it right up there, and maybe that was where it peaked at 5. Otherwise, it was like the 3-4 range. But look, I mean, this stuff, you don't want this stuff in your hands at all. I don't use smartphones. I think it's a death trap. There's no long-term studies proving it, but we do see a lot of cases of like brain cancers, 24,000 estimated this year alone. And you know that a lot of breast cancers, thyroid cancers, and other cancers are linked to this. I mean, 23,000 is just like a super low estimate. But you can bet that tens of thousands die every year, and they don't know why. They're diagnosed with something, but they never link it back to the electronics or to the innovation or to the devices. So, we're going to be covering a lot of 4G, 5G, Skynet on this channel, but we're also going to go to some other news here pretty soon. We're going to do a real interesting story on something. We'll keep it a surprise. We'll keep it a surprise for the next broadcast. I don't want to ruin it. I was thinking, how can I tell you what we're gonna cover, but we'll keep this broadcast timeless. And so like and share. Product information for the EMF390 will be in the description, the comments, of course. And look, this we don't get funded by Nike. This isn't exactly the March of Dimes here trying to fight back against the Matrix, against the dark side, against the empire, against the eugenics programs. You've seen the censorship. Look, there you go. You want commercial free? Sign up to patreon.com/STF News. $5 a month will get you commercial free, shows Sunday through Thursday, and there we cover nothing but the news. And there's a huge archive at your disposal. So check that out, stfnreport.com and patreon.com/STF News, and check out the MF390. I mean, this is a must-have before you buy another gadget. Before you buy another phone, before you buy another television, before you buy another router or whatever. Check out what you got already. You'll be surprised. And we'll be starting a community soon, answering all questions. And we're in direct contact with the engineers out there. We'll work through anything unusual that you might encounter. But this is like the third generation EMF detector for them. They've sold thousands of them. People are happy. The reviews are really convincing. I couldn't wait to get one, and when I got one, I was like, everybody's got to have one of these for $100. This thing is a lot of fun. Plus, it'll tell you exactly what needs to change in terms of your surroundings. I've made a few lifestyle changes after looking at this device here, and for the better. I don't want to be exposed to high voltage fields or high magnetic fields, or fucking death towers. So I think it's worth the deductible. It is. This is probably one of the better investments. They also make Geiger counters and stuff. We'll be getting into that. But get it through the manufacturer. Go through our product page, and it'll bring you right to the manufacturer with some supplementary descriptions, and we'll get credit for the visit, and that way everybody's happy. You're gonna love this little device, and you probably want to get two. To be quite honest with you, give it to somebody you love. Till the next time, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to this, you are the resistance.